Hello, friends. About 99% of friends who watch my videos are not subscribed, and I would be very happy if you did. Also, don't forget to press the like button and leave your comments. Your interaction makes the content reach everyone and helps the channel grow. Also, let me know in the comments from which country you are watching the video. I swear on diesel fumes and blacktop that what I'm about to tell you is real. I ain't got no reason to make stuff up, especially not after what I've seen. I've been trucking for 27 years, driven through damn near every back road and major highway this country's got to offer. But it's what happened to me on Highway 84 in New Mexico that made me question everything I thought I knew about the road and about reality. It was the middle of summer, hotter than the hinges of hell, and I was hauling a refrigerated load of beef from Texas up to Colorado. I'd been driving long hours, fueled by coffee, nicotine gum, and that old gut instinct that tells you when to push and when to stop. But that night, the air felt different, still, heavy, like the sky was holding its breath. Around 2:13 a.m., I passed through a long stretch of desert. No towns, no lights, just flat, open nothingness. Then my CB crackled alive with static and a voice that didn't sound right. Breaker 19, he's waiting for you. Now listen, I'd had weird folks messing around on the radio before, kids playing games or lonely drivers looking to spook someone. But this voice was different. It was warped, wet, like it was being spoken underwater. I grabbed the mic and said, "Who's this?" Silence. Just a low hum, like someone breathing through their teeth real slow. I switched off the CB and kept driving, trying to shake off the goosebumps crawling up my arms. But the weirdest part, I could smell water, not rain, not damp air. Water, like pond water, muddy, stagnant, swampy. And I was in the middle of the driest patch of land you could imagine. A couple miles later, I saw it. Up ahead, this guy standing in the middle of the road, just standing there like he owned the asphalt. I honked, flashed my brights, and slammed the brakes, tires screeching so loud it sounded like the truck was screaming. I came to a stop about 30 feet from him. He didn't move. I mean, not even a flinch. I leaned out the window and shouted, "You all right?" But he didn't say a damn word. He was tall, gaunt, wearing some kind of old-fashioned trench coat, wide-brimmed hat pulled down low over his face. The smell of swamp water got stronger. Then, and I swear on my mama's life, he started floating. Not stepping, not walking. Floating. Right toward my truck. I threw that gear into reverse so fast I nearly stripped the transmission. I backed up until I couldn't see him no more. When I finally stopped, he was gone. Just gone. Like he'd never been there at all. I sat there with my foot still pressing the brake, heart hammering in my chest like it wanted out. My headlights were still beaming down that empty stretch of road, picking up nothing but dust and the occasional scrub brush blowing in the breeze. I kept asking myself what the hell I just saw. A man floating? That ain't right. People don't float. But I saw it plain as day, or plain as midnight under a full moon, I guess. I turned the CB back on, and right away it lit up with more static, louder this time, buzzing like angry hornets. "Turn around," the voice gurgled, this time sounding even more inhuman. "He's behind you." I damn near jumped out of my seat. My hand reached for the gear shifter instinctively, but I couldn't bring myself to move. I didn't want to look in the mirrors, didn't want to turn my head. But something primal kicked in, like when you feel someone watching you from behind, and every hair on your neck stands up like a field of antennae. I slowly turned and glanced over my shoulder. Nothing. Just the dark interior of the sleeper cabin and a couple of empty Red Bull cans rolling around on the floor. I shook my head, muttering, "I'm losing it." But deep down, I knew I wasn't. Something was wrong, very wrong. I got moving again, kept the rig steady, trying to outrun whatever the hell that was. About 10 minutes later, my GPS screen flickered and went dark. I tapped it, but it stayed black. My phone had no signal, and the compass on the dash just spun in slow, lazy circles like it didn't know which way was up anymore. I couldn't even tell if I was still heading north. Then I saw a sign, bent, rusty, looking like it had been there for 100 years. It read, "Welcome to Perdition. Never heard of No Perdition, New Mexico." Pulled up my mental map of the state. I got a steel trap memory for highways and towns, but that name didn't ring a bell. I figured maybe it was one of those blink and you miss it ghost towns. But that didn't make me feel any better. The road narrowed, the air got thicker, and this fog started rolling in, not like the natural kind, but yellowish, sickly, smelled like burnt hair and moldy bread. My headlights barely cut through it, and I slowed down to a crawl. That's when I saw the gas station. Just sitting there on the right, lights flickering, one old pump standing crooked like it had been hit by something. I figured I'd try to ask someone where the hell I was. Pulled in, killed the engine, and stepped out. The silence was deafening. Not a cricket, not a breeze, not a single car on the road. Just me, my rig, and that gas station from hell. The sign overhead had letters missing. It said, ETHUYFULS. I got this icy chill that crawled down my spine and wrapped around my ribs. But I walked up to the door anyway, feeling like I was being dared by the road itself. The bell above the door didn't ring when I stepped inside. You know that little jingle every gas station's supposed to have? Gone. Just silence and that same swampy smell, now so strong it made my eyes water. The lights overhead were dim and flickering, like they were trying to warn me to turn back. Shelves were stocked, but everything looked like it had been sitting there for decades. Dust on the chip bags, faded labels on the cans, and candy bars melted and fused into a single waxy block. There was a register up front, but no cashier. No music, no hum from a fridge. It felt staged, like someone tried to recreate what a gas station should look like but missed all the details only a human would remember. I called out, "Hello? Anyone working tonight?" My voice echoed, way too long for such a small place. I took a couple more steps in, and that's when I saw him. Or it. Behind the counter, hunched over, not moving. His back was to me, shoulders, bony and sharp through a torn flannel shirt. I said, "Hey buddy, you all right?" But he didn't turn. I walked closer, boots creaking on the dirty tile. When I got within arm's reach, I tapped the counter. He moved, slowly, like he was uncrumpling from a sleep deeper than anything natural. Then he turned. I'm not even sure how to describe. His face, skin like wax, eyes too big and cloudy, jaw hanging just a little too loose. He looked like someone who'd been dead for a while, but hadn't quite realized it yet. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it, just cracked yellow teeth and this awful wet sound like meat sliding off a bone. "Pump's out of order," he said, voice dry like he hadn't used it in years. "You should go." I backed away slowly, heart pounding, breath caught in my throat. "All right," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "Didn't mean to bother you." I turned to leave, but the second I reached the door, I heard a hiss, like a steam valve letting loose, and the lights all went out at once. I spun around, and he was gone. Just gone. No door behind the counter, no sign he'd ever been there. But I heard footsteps on the ceiling. I swear to God, slow, deliberate steps overhead, like something was walking upside down. I bolted out of there. So fast I didn't even check the fuel level. Jumped back in the cab, slammed the door, turned the key. Engine groaned like it didn't want to start. Then the radio came on by itself. Same voice from before, now clearer, like it was right in the cab with me. "You should have stayed on." The highway. I looked in the mirror, and for a second, just a split second, I saw someone sitting in the sleeper behind me. Wide-brimmed hat, grinning. Then the engine roared to life, and I peeled out of that lot like the devil himself was chasing me, which maybe he was. I drove like hell was on my tail.
swearing and sweating with my hands gripping that wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. The yellow fog had followed me. I don't know how, but it clung to the truck, wrapped around the cab, and made
it damn near impossible to see more than 10 feet ahead. I leaned forward, squinting into the murk, trying to find the double yellow lines, trying to remember which direction I'd even been going. My GPS was still dead. My phone, blank screen. Even the clock on the dash was frozen at 2:13 a.m., like time itself decided to stop playing along. I must have driven for an hour straight without seeing another car, another sign, nothing. It was like I'd slipped off the map. Every mile marker I passed had the same number, 66, over and over again. Mile 66. I saw it 10, 20, maybe 30 times. I even stopped once to double-check, got out with a flashlight and shined it right on the rusted post. Still said 66. That's when I heard whispering, not loud, just faint, like voices blowing, through the sagebrush. I turned in circles, shining the light into the fog, shouting, "Who's there?" But no one answered. Then the flashlight flickered and died. I stood there in the dark, frozen, listening. The whispering got closer. I bolted back into the cab, fired the truck up, and took off again. But something was different this time. The road didn't feel right. The truck vibrated strange, like the pavement was breathing under me. I looked down and saw cracks in the asphalt glowing faintly red, like there was fire underneath. I ain't no religious man, but I've heard stories about roads that lead to places no humans meant to go. I used to laugh those off, but now I wasn't laughing. I started praying, out loud, just rambling whatever bits of Sunday school I could remember. Our Father, who art in heaven. Then the CB crackled again, loud enough to make me flinch. "Stop the truck," it said, plain as day. "Stop, now." But I didn't. I kept driving, until the lights of another truck finally appeared, in the distance. Taillights. Solid red, about 100 yards ahead. I honked the horn and sped up, thinking maybe I'd caught up with someone. Relief flooded me. I even laughed, half crazy with exhaustion. "Finally," I said, "another driver." But as I got closer, I noticed something strange. The truck had no trailer, no license plate, and the cab was completely crushed, like it had been through a wreck, a bad one. But it was still moving, still driving like normal. I pulled up beside it, slowed just enough to glance into the driver's window, and what I saw made my blood run cold. The driver was me, or someone who looked just like me. Same jacket, same ball cap, same scar, on the chin from a bar fight back in Arkansas. But his eyes were all black, not bruised, black. No whites, just two pits of void staring back at me. He grinned and mouthed the words, "You're already dead." I hit the brakes so hard the rig skidded sideways. By the time I stopped and looked back, the other truck was gone, like it never existed. But my reflection in the window, it wasn't smiling anymore. It was watching me, and it wasn't blinking. I sat there behind the wheel, shaking so bad I thought my teeth were going to chatter right out of my skull. I kept staring at that side mirror, watching my own face look back at me, only it wasn't doing what I was doing. I'd blink, it wouldn't. I'd move my head a little. It'd stay frozen like a damn photograph. That ain't natural. That ain't a trick of the light. That's something else. I finally mustered the nerve to wipe the fog off the glass with the sleeve of my flannel, hoping maybe I'd just imagined it. Maybe my eyes were playing games with me. But the second I touched that mirror, ice shot through my arm like I'd grabbed a live wire. I yanked my hand back and looked at my fingers. 3 of them were red and blistered like I'd plunged them into dry ice. The pain was real. Whatever this was, it was real. I slammed that truck into drive and floored it, tires squealing. Against cracked pavement, heart pounding like a freight train in my chest. I don't even know how long I drove. The clock was still frozen at 2:13 a.m. The fog wouldn't lift. But eventually I saw headlights up ahead, parked off to the side. Of the road, a state trooper. My heart leapt. I pulled up behind him, flashers on, and damn near jumped out of the cab before the truck was fully stopped. "Officer," I shouted, running up to the driver's side. "You gotta help me. Something crazy's going on out here." He didn't move, didn't roll the window down, just sat there, face barely visible under the brim of his hat. I tapped on the glass. "Sir, you all right?" He turned, real slow, like a puppet being pulled by invisible strings. His eyes locked on mine, and they were empty. Hollow sockets. No blood, no gore, just darkness. Like someone had scooped out his soul. His mouth opened and a voice spilled out, but it wasn't his. It was the same one from the CB radio. "You're not supposed to be here." I stumbled back, nearly fell onto the asphalt, heart damn near exploding in my chest. The cruiser's engine revved, tires squealed, and it peeled off into the fog like it was being chased by the devil. Or maybe it was the devil. I got back in my truck and just sat there trying to collect myself, hands shaking, mind spinning. I grabbed the CB mic with a trembling hand and called out, "Any drivers out there? This is Big Ray. I need some help. I don't know what's happening." Static answered me at first. Then, soft and slow, a different voice, calm, almost gentle, came through. "Big Ray," it said, "you've crossed into the hollow mile. You keep driving, you'll never make it back." "What the hell is the hollow mile?" I asked. The radio crackled again, and the voice whispered, "It's the road that remembers." That's when the truck's radio, my radio, turned on all by itself. No music. Just that same damn voice humming an old gospel hymn. I recognized it. My mama used to sing it when I was little, rocking in her chair, long before she passed. I looked in the back seat again, into the sleeper, and I swear I saw her. My mama, only her face was wrong. Her smile was too wide, and she was crying blood. I didn't breathe. I couldn't. My lungs just locked up, like they knew what I was seeing couldn't be real and didn't want to pull any more of it inside me. My mama, Lord rest her, died 10 years ago of cancer. I watched her fade away in that hospital room, held her hand till it went cold. But right there in my sleeper cab, she sat rocking like she used to, humming that tune, only now with blood trailing from her eyes like tears that had been burning through her soul. I blinked, and she was gone. Not vanished, no. Just replaced. There was someone else now, sitting there cross-legged with their back to me. Pale, long, stringy hair, bare feet, and they were humming the same damn tune in the same pitch, like they'd picked it up where she left off. I didn't turn around fully. I didn't want to. My hands were still on the wheel, white-knuckled, and I just stared at the windshield, whispering to myself, "Just keep driving. Keep your eyes forward." The humming stopped. Then a voice rasped, low and scratchy like dry leaves blowing across pavement. "You brought us here, Ray." I damn near jumped out the window when I heard my name. I didn't answer, didn't speak, just pressed the gas pedal harder. The truck roared forward, eating up highway like a beast. But the road didn't change. Still the same cracked pavement, still the same fog. Still no signs, no towns, no time passing. The odometer hadn't moved in miles. That's when I saw the lights again. A motel. Flickering neon sign saying vacancy in blood-red letters. There was a truck parked out front that looked exactly like mine. Same color, same trailer, same company logos. Hell, the license plate was the same too. I stopped. Had to. Curiosity got the better of me, or maybe it was something stronger, like something pulling me by the guts. I got out, walked toward that twin rig. When I looked in the cab, my heart dropped through. The floor, it was me, again, slumped over the wheel, face frozen in terror, eyes wide open like I'd seen something before I died. And on the seat next to that version of me was a photo, one I hadn't seen in years. My mama, me, and my little brother, sitting on the porch back in Texas. Only in the photo I was scratched out, my face blacked over with marker. I stumbled back, breathing hard, sweat pouring down my neck. That's when the door to the motel creaked open. A shadow stood there, tall and gaunt, with long arms that hung too low and fingers that twitched like spider legs. No face, just a blank space where features should have been. It raised a hand and pointed right at me. I heard that same voice, Mama's the one from the radio, say, "Room 13, Ray. It's time to check in." The fog thickened all around me. My truck's lights flickered and died. The motel door opened wider, and I couldn't help it. My feet started moving, on their own, step by step toward that thing waiting in the doorway. I wish I could tell you I turned around, that I snapped out of whatever trance I was in and ran back to the truck, slammed the door, and peeled out of there like any sane man would. But I didn't. My feet kept moving like they weren't mine. Anymore. Like strings had been tied to my legs and someone else was pulling them. The air got thicker the closer I got to that door. Felt like breathing through syrup, like the world itself was slowing down to watch me make this mistake. The motel's flickering neon lights buzzed louder, taking on this strange rhythm, like they were mimicking a heartbeat. Mine. I stepped inside, and everything changed. No lobby, no front desk. Just a long, dim hallway that seemed to stretch. For miles, lit by bare bulbs swinging from the ceiling. The wallpaper was peeled and rotten, covered in handprints, big and small, all pressed into the fabric like they'd melted right through the walls. The door at the end of the hall stood out. Room 13. Numbers scratched into the wood, not nailed or painted, like someone had clawed them there with bloodied fingernails. I walked that hallway, feeling 1,000 eyes on me, though I couldn't see a single soul. Every step echoed like a scream. My boots thudded heavy on the warped floorboards, and with each footfall, the lights above me dimmed a little more. By the time I reached the door, the hallway behind me was pitch black. I don't know what possessed me to open it, but I did. And what I saw inside? I still can't explain it. The room was a carbon copy of my truck's sleeper cab, but stretched, out, twisted, wrong. The bed was there, covered in red-stained sheets. A logbook sat open on a tiny table, filled with page after page of the same sentence. "You'll never leave the Hollow Mile." Over and over. And sitting on the bed, waiting. For me was myself, again, third time now. Only this one looked older, gaunt. Eyes sunken in like he hadn't slept in years. Skin pale like he'd been living under fluorescent light his whole life. He looked up and smiled, a tired, broken smile, and said, "You made it, finally." I shook my head. "What is this?" I asked. "Where the hell am I?" "You already know," he said, standing up slow, bones cracking like dry twigs. "You've always known. Every time you ignored the signs. Every time you chose the shortcut. Every time you pushed through that stretch of road when the fog rolled in." I stepped back, shaken. "This ain't real." "It's realer than anything you've ever seen," he said, stepping toward me. "You drove too far, Ray. You didn't turn back when you had the chance. And now," he reached out, and I could see his hand trembling. "Now it's your turn to wait. Someone else will come along. They always do. And when they get here, you get to leave." I backed away, slamming the door shut, ran, full speed. Down that impossible hallway, past walls that bled shadows, past doors that whispered my name, past mirrors that showed me growing older with every step. I burst out of that motel, gasping for air. But the truck, it was gone. The lot was empty, just tire tracks where it had been. And that fog, it wasn't fog anymore. It was alive, moving, swirling, blocking every path like it knew where I was trying to go. That's when I heard the engine. Faint at first, then louder. Headlights breaking through the murk. A rig, just like mine, coming slow. I Stepped out into the road, waved my arms like a madman. It stopped. And when the window rolled down, it was another driver, young guy. Couldn't have been more than 22. Eyes wide with confusion. "You okay, man?" he asked. I just stared at him. 'Cause I knew. He was the next one. I swallowed hard and said, "You lost?" He nodded. "Yeah. GPS went dead. Can't get a signal. This fog's crazy. I thought I saw a motel back there, but it was gone when I turned around." I nodded back. "Yeah, it does that." And as I looked at him, really looked at him, I saw myself. Not literally, but I saw me, all those years ago, naive. Just another tired trucker looking to save time. And I knew what I had to do. "Come on," I said. "I'll ride with you. Help guide you through this stretch." He looked relieved. "Thanks, man. Name's Kyle." "Ray," I said. "Call me Ray." I climbed into the passenger seat, looking out that foggy windshield, knowing damn well I'd just passed the curse to the next poor soul. And somewhere deep down, I prayed he'd make a better choice than I did. Kyle's rig groaned as he pulled back onto the endless stretch of cracked asphalt, headlights barely cutting through the wall of fog ahead. I sat there next to him, hands wringing in my lap, doing my best to look calm, but my insides felt like they were boiling. I wasn't supposed to leave. I knew I wasn't. Not yet. Not till someone took my place. And that's what Kyle was doing, though he didn't know it. Poor kid thought I was doing him a favor, riding shotgun through the weirdest part of his route. He kept glancing at me like he was expecting me to say something. Maybe tell a joke. Maybe give directions. But all I could do was stare out that windshield, watching the fog pulse and shift like it had a heartbeat. "So, how far does this fog go?" he asked, trying to make conversation. I just shrugged. "Too far." He chuckled, nervously. "That's not real reassuring, Ray." I finally turned to him, trying to soften my voice. "You ever heard of the Hollow Mile?" He frowned. "No. Is that near here?" "Something like that," I said. "It's not on any map. You won't find it on your GPS. But every now and then, a driver gets caught in it. Usually around 2:13 in the morning." His hands tightened on the wheel. "That's weirdly specific." I nodded. "Yeah, ain't it just?" He looked at the dash clock. 2:13 a.m. I saw his throat bob as he swallowed. "All right, you're freaking me out a little, man." I leaned forward, eyeing the road. "You see that up ahead?" He squinted. "I don't see nothing." "Exactly," I pointed. "There should be a mile marker. There always is right there. But not in the Hollow Mile." Kyle went quiet. I could feel the tension building in the cab, like the air was thinning. Then the CB crackled to life, even though he hadn't touched it. A deep voice spilled through. Not his, not mine, but something that sounded like it came from a throat. Too old to still be breathing. "2 riders now. The road is greedy tonight." Kyle stared at the radio, pale as death. "What the hell was that?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The rig started shaking. Just a little at first, like we were riding over a bad patch of road, then more, like something massive was moving under the asphalt. I looked out the side mirror and saw hands, dozens of them, pushing up through the cracks in the road, reaching, not digging, just reaching, like they were begging for someone to grab hold. Kyle screamed and swerved, nearly jackknifing the trailer. "What is this?" he yelled. "Drive," I shouted back. "Just keep your damn hands on the wheel and don't stop for nothing." The fog closed in tighter. The dashboard lights flickered, and the radio let out a shriek, like someone was screaming from the bottom of a well. Kyle was hyperventilating, sweating bullets, muttering prayers under his breath. "Why is this happening?" he cried. "Because we're in it now," I said quietly. "The Hollow Mile's got us. But it ain't too late. Not for you." "What do you mean?" he asked. There's one way out, I said. Only one. But it comes with a price. He looked at me, desperate. I'll pay it. Just tell me what to do. I stared at him, then slowly reached into my jacket and pulled out the old photograph, the one from the motel. My mama, me, my brother. Only now, the scratch over my face was gone. Kyle looked at it, confused. What is this? Proof, I said, that this thing, it's real, and it don't let go easy. The fog began to lift, just a little. A narrow path. Ahead opened up, a turnoff, a side road I hadn't seen in hours. Take it, I said. Take that exit, right now. He hesitated. You comin' with me? I shook my head. No, my ride ends here. His hands trembled. But I don't understand. You will, I said, opening the passenger door. The moment my boots hit the pavement, the fog swallowed me whole. Kyle's truck roared off down the side road, headlights piercing the veil just long enough for me to see his face one last time. Young, scared, but alive. And just like that, he was gone. The road behind me groaned, and I felt the hollow mile wrap itself around me like an old, familiar coat. My place had been filled. But my job, it wasn't done. Not by a long shot. I turned and walked into the dark, toward the next lost soul who'd take this road when the night was long and the clock read 2:13. 'Cause the hollow mile, it don't sleep, and someone's always got to guide the next poor bastard through it. ChatGPT said, the thing about the hollow mile is, it remembers. It don't matter if you make it out once or a dozen times. It's like it gets your scent, like a bloodhound, and every turn you take on the road after that might lead right back into its open mouth. So even after I passed Kyle along, even after I thought I'd done my part and walked away, I didn't really leave. I was still there. I am still there. Let me tell you about what happened the next time it pulled me back in. 'Cause this part's burned into my brain like road rash. A week later, maybe 10 days, I can't be sure anymore, I picked up a haul out of Tulsa, heading west toward Flagstaff. Long straight run, tight deadline. I hadn't slept right since that night with Kyle, kept hearing whispers on the CB, seeing flashes of faces in the chrome of other trucks. My radio'd turn on by itself. Sometimes the GPS would glitch, show me driving off the edge of the world, or loop me in circles no matter what turn I took. I chalked it up to stress, at least I wanted to. But by the time I passed the Oklahoma-Texas line, I felt it again. That tug. Like gravity shifted beneath my wheels. Like something under the highway opened its eyes. It started with the sun. Middle of the day. Bright as hell. Then all of a sudden, poof, gone. Not like clouds rolling in, more like someone flipped off the sky. My headlights came on by themselves, the dashboard dimmed, and then the clock reset. 2:13 a.m. I slammed the brakes, pulled off onto a service road that shouldn't have even been there. Asphalt cracked and old, lined with weeds. No signs, no other cars. Just the sound of my engine ticking and the hiss of the brakes settling. I got out, looked around, and that's when I noticed the air was wrong. Still. No wind, no crickets. Just dead silence. The kind of silence that makes your ears ring. Then I saw 'em. 3 figures. Just standing there at the edge of the tree line. No movement, just watching. I shouted, "Hey, you okay?" But they didn't answer. Didn't even twitch. I took a few steps toward them, then stopped. My boots felt heavy, like they were sinking into the asphalt. I looked down, and I swear to God, the pavement was soft, like tar on a summer day, except it was cold as ice. I yanked my legs back, stumbled to the cab, and locked the door. That's when the knocking started. Not on my door. From inside the sleeper. 3 soft knocks. I turned real slow, heart jackhammering, and pulled. The curtain back. There was a man sitting on my bunk, only he wasn't really there. He looked translucent, like static on an old TV. His eyes were empty sockets. His jaw hung loose like it was broken, and he was wearing the exact same uniform I was wearing, down to the grease stain on the chest pocket. He lifted a finger, pointed at me and said, "Turn around." I stammered. What? "Turn around," he said again. I didn't want to. I knew something was behind me, but I turned. The rearview mirror showed a convoy, at least 6 rigs behind mine, ghostly, warped, and flickering like candle flames. And they weren't driving. They were floating, tires hovering inches off the road, no drivers behind the wheels. Just empty cabs, and every single one had the same symbol spray painted on the hood, a black spiral with teeth. I turned back to the bunk. The man was gone. The knocking stopped, but the whispering started, in the radio, in the engine, in the freaking AC vent. They were saying the same thing over and over again. Drive or die, drive or die, drive or die. So I did. I threw the truck into gear and floored it. Didn't matter where I was going, I just had to move. The road twisted and stretched, signs flashing by in languages I'd never seen before. Buildings rose up in the distance, crooked and leaning like they were falling into themselves. The sky stayed black. No moon, no stars, only that damn clock. 2:13. Again. Always. And I kept driving. Because in the hollow mile, stopping ain't an option. It's just an invitation. Want to know what happened next? I don't know how long I was driving. Might have been an hour, might have been a week. Time don't behave normal in the hollow mile. You'll be chasing mile markers that vanish before you pass them. You'll see signs repeating like, some haunted loop. Next rest stop 8 miles. And that same damn sign will be there again 2 minutes later. At some point I realized I wasn't following the road no more. The road was leading me. It curved in places I swore were straight. It split into 2, then stitched back together. Sometimes I'd pass trees with faces in the bark, mouths stretched open like they were screaming, but no sound came out. And the worst part? The CB radio wouldn't shut up. It whispered names. My name. Ray. Ray, don't leave us. Ray, you promised. Like ghosts hitching rides in the static. I tried yanking the cord out, but it kept working like... The damn thing was hardwired into the truck's soul. Then, clear as a bell, a voice cut through all that whispering. Familiar, young, scared. "Ray, is that you?" It was Kyle. My heart just about stopped. "Kyle?" I shouted back. "Where are you?" I took the road you told me to. It was good for a while, but now it's different. I think I'm back in it. "Where the hell are you, son?" "Don't know. I see these lights. Red. Ones. They keep moving. Fast. And I think I'm being followed." Right then, I looked in my rear view and damn near screamed. Red lights. Not tail lights. Eyes. Dozens of them. Glowing, darting through the fog behind me, weaving like wolves. "Circling a deer. Kyle, listen to me," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "You can't stop. Whatever you do, don't pull over. Not for nothing. Not even if you think you hit somebody. You keep moving." "I don't know if I can," he said, voice cracking. "I keep hearing this voice telling me to pull over, that I'm safe now, that you're not real." I slammed the steering wheel, furious. "That ain't me talking to you. You hear me? That's them." But he didn't answer. The radio went dead. No static, just silence. That's when I saw it. Up ahead, parked sideways across the road, a tanker truck, mangled, on its side, flames flickering underneath, no way around it. I hit the brakes, tires screaming, cab shaking like a tin can in a tornado. When I finally stopped, the fog swallowed me whole. Couldn't see 10 feet in front of my nose. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped out, feeling the cold sink into my bones instantly. My breath came out in slow, heavy puffs, and the smell burned. Rubber and rot. I walked up to the wreck and there he was, Kyle, just standing there, looking at the tanker, not moving, not breathing. "Kyle?" I called. He turned, real slow, and his eyes, they weren't right. Too dark, too deep, like I was looking down a well. "You left me, Ray," he whispered. "No, I tried to save you." "I did save you. You got out." "I did," he said, "but not all of me." Suddenly the tanker groaned, and black smoke started pouring out of the seams. Not fire smoke, something thicker, oily, alive. It slithered across the pavement, toward my boots, and I backpedaled, heart hammering. "Kyle, listen to me. We can still get out." He shook his head. "No one leaves. Not forever." And just like that, he stepped into the tanker wreck and vanished, like the metal swallowed him whole. Then came the howl, not from a man, not from a beast, but from the road itself. It rumbled beneath my feet like a beast rolling over in its sleep. The lines on the pavement started shifting, snaking in unnatural ways. I ran back to my cab and floored it, didn't look back, didn't dare, because I knew what I'd see. I was driving into the hollow. Mile now, not beside it, not crossing through, inside. You still with me? Good, because what came next? That's when things got truly messed up. The rig's engine roared like a beast possessed as I slammed the accelerator, but the road beneath me wasn't cooperating. The asphalt twisted and folded in on itself like some giant living serpent coiling around my wheels. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight I thought my knuckles might snap. I tried to keep my eyes on the road ahead, but every time I glanced in the mirrors, the shadows seemed to stretch longer, darker, thicker, as if something was crawling out of them, inch by inch. The hollow mile wasn't just a stretch of cursed highway anymore. It had become a living nightmare wrapped around me like a shroud. The radio screamed again, static cutting into the silence like a razor. Then a voice, soft, raspy, familiar, whispered, "Ray, you can't outrun us." My breath caught in my throat. I spun the dial, desperate to find a channel that wasn't invaded by that ghostly hiss. But it was no use. The voice repeated, growing louder, more insistent, like a chant from some ancient cult buried deep beneath the blacktop. Drive or die. A cold sweat soaked through my shirt, but I kept driving. There was nowhere else to go. The sky above remained black, but behind me, flickers of red and green lights danced at the edges of the fog. Were they eyes? Or the flames of some lost souls trapped in eternal limbo? I couldn't tell, and I didn't dare slow down to find out. Suddenly, the headlights illuminated a figure standing dead center in my lane, tall, thin, and impossibly still. I slammed on the brakes, tires screeching, and the rig skidded dangerously close to the edge of the road. The figure didn't move. Its face was hidden beneath a hood, but I felt its gaze burn through me like icy needles. The radio crackled violently, and the voice boomed, "You belong to us now, Ray." The last word echoed and faded into a chilling silence. My heart pounded like a hammer as the figure vanished into the fog. The road ahead seemed to stretch endlessly, no signs of civilization, just me and the creeping shadows. Every nerve in my body screamed to stop, to turn around, but I knew better. Stopping meant giving in. It meant being swallowed whole by the hollow mile. Hours passed, maybe days. Time had lost all meaning. The only constants were the eerie whispers over the radio, the shifting road beneath my tires, and the haunting vision of Kyle's empty eyes. At one point, I caught a glimpse of a weathered motel sign flickering in the distance. The same one, where I'd found that cursed photograph. A twisted grin crept across my face. The nightmare was coming full circle. I pulled off the road and stepped into the thick fog, knowing this was where it all began and where I might finally end it. The silence was deafening, the air heavy. And as I walked forward, shadows reached for me from every direction, whispering promises I didn't want to hear. I gripped the photograph tight, feeling the weight of my past and the burden of every lost soul the hollow mile had claimed. Ray, a voice called softly, almost like a plea. Help us. And I realized that this road wasn't just a curse. It was a prison for them, for me, for anyone who ever dared to drive its haunted length. The Hollow Mile isn't just a place you pass through. It's a darkness you carry with you. And no matter how far you drive, it's always right there behind you. If you think this ride's been wild so far, just wait, because I haven't even scratched the surface yet. I stepped back into the cab, heart pounding like a freight train's engine, hands trembling on the wheel. The photograph lay on the dashboard, edges curled and faded, but the faces in it seemed sharper now, watching me, pleading. I flicked on the headlights, but the light barely cut through the thick fog that wrapped around the truck like a suffocating blanket. The radio whispered again, but this time the voice wasn't just one, it was many. Layered, overlapping, all calling my name like a macabre choir. I forced the rig back onto the cracked highway, eyes straining for any sign of the real world beyond this ghostly realm. The speedometer climbed, but the road didn't seem to move beneath me. Instead, it stretched and warped, pulling me deeper into its maze. Trees leaned in close, their branches like gnarled fingers reaching for the truck, scraping against the sides with a sound like nails on metal. The rearview mirrors reflected fleeting shapes, faces contorted in pain, eyes hollow, mouths silent but screaming, hours blurred. I tried to focus on the dashboard clock, but it spun wildly, refusing to settle. The only time I knew was the hollow mile zone, 2:13 a.m., always 2:13. The radio suddenly burst into static, then a chilling voice cut through, cold and steady. You can't save them all, Ray. Some of us belong here. Some of us want to stay. I swallowed hard, knowing exactly who spoke. Kyle. The image of my lost friend burned in my mind, his empty eyes haunting every moment. I gripped the wheel tighter. No, I whispered, voice cracking. I'm gonna get you out. But the road laughed, a sound like gravel grinding against bones. The truck lurched violently, and the dashboard lights flickered out. Total darkness swallowed the cab. The engine sputtered, then roared back to life as if nothing happened. Ahead, a faint glow appeared, a small, run-down diner with flickering neon letters that spelled "Last Stop." I pulled in, desperate for some anchor to reality. Inside, the place was empty, save for a lone waitress whose smile didn't reach her eyes. She slid a cup of coffee across the counter without a word. I took a sip and felt the bitterness sting. The radio crackled again, and a final whisper reached me. Don't trust the road, Ray. It feeds on your fear. Outside, the fog thickened, swirling like restless spirits. I knew the Hollow Mile was far from done with me, but I was ready. I had to be, because this highway wasn't just a road. It was a story, a living nightmare, and I was the only one left who could tell it. The diner's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as I stared out the window, watching the fog swallow the road like it was trying to erase every trace of where I'd been. The waitress wiped a glass slowly, eyes never leaving me. I wanted to ask her questions, where I was, how to get out, but the words caught in my throat. The air in the diner felt thick, like it was holding its breath. Outside, the silence pressed in, heavier than anything I'd ever felt on a highway. Finished my coffee, the bitter taste lingering, and stepped back into the truck. The moment I closed the door, the radio came alive again. Not with static this time, but laughter. Soft, cruel, and unending. It echoed inside the cab, twisting around my head until I felt like I was losing my mind. The steering wheel vibrated under my hands as if the truck itself was shivering with fear. I knew I had to keep moving no matter what. The Hollow Mile was a trap, a maze with no exit unless you faced what was waiting for you in the dark. I started the engine, and the headlights pierced through the fog once more. The road ahead was different now, less twisted, almost inviting. But I didn't trust it. My eyes caught a reflection in the side mirror. Kyle, standing there again, his eyes wide and empty, reaching out to me with fingers like smoke. "Ray," he whispered, voice cracking. "Help me." I swallowed the lump in my throat and floored. The gas. I couldn't stop. Not until I found the end of this cursed road, or until the road found me first. The Hollow Mile wasn't just a place you drove through. It was a story you lived, a nightmare you survived, if you were lucky. And lucky, my friends, was something I was running out of. The truck roared back to life as I punched the accelerator, my knuckles white against the steering wheel. The fog thickened around me, swallowing the headlights whole, and the road ahead seemed to stretch into an endless void. Every shadow flickered with movement, every whisper on the radio, a warning I couldn't ignore. The Hollow Mile was alive, breathing, watching, and it wasn't done with me yet. I gritted my teeth and pushed forward, knowing that somewhere out there, beyond the twisted trees and the phantom lights, was a way out. Or maybe just another nightmare waiting to unfold. The highway had its stories, and I was stuck living every one of them. But I wasn't giving up. Not yet. Not until I found Kyle. Not until I escaped the Hollow Mile's grip. The rig shook as I hammered down the accelerator, heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst through my chest. The fog wasn't just around me anymore, it was inside me, seeping through the vents, wrapping tight around my lungs, choking out any hope of clear thinking. The radio kept crackling, but now the voices weren't just whispers. They were pleading, screaming, begging me to stop. But I knew better. Stopping here meant surrendering. It meant becoming part of the highway's curse. The road stretched, out endlessly ahead, twisting and turning like a serpent, the yellow lines bleeding like fresh wounds. Somewhere deep in that swirling mist, I could feel Kyle's presence, a flicker of desperation and loss. I swallowed my fear and gripped the wheel tighter. This was more than a drive. It was a fight to keep my soul. The Hollow Mile wasn't just a road. It was a darkness that never let go. The more I drove, the heavier the air became, like the fog was squeezing the breath right out of me. Every mile felt like I was driving through a dream that was turning into a nightmare. The highway twisted and writhed beneath my wheels, like some beast that didn't want me to leave. The trees beside me seemed alive, their branches reaching out, scratching the sides of my rig like they were trying to pull me in. The radio kept spitting out voices, some calling my name, others moaning in pain. I tried to block it all out, but it was like the Hollow Mile was infecting my mind, feeding on my fear and loneliness. Then, out of nowhere, a figure appeared. In the distance, a woman in a tattered dress standing right in the middle of the road. Her eyes were empty, but I could feel her stare piercing through me. I slammed the brakes hard, the truck screeching to a stop just inches from her. She vanished in the blink of an eye, leaving only the echo of a sorrowful sigh behind. That's when I realized the Hollow Mile wasn't just haunted by ghosts. It was haunted by lost souls who never made it out. And somehow, I was become one of them. The road was changing me. The moment that woman vanished, the silence hit me like a freight train. No radio static, no whispering voices, just the heavy, eerie stillness of the Hollow Mile breathing around me. My heart was still thundering in my chest as I gripped the wheel, sweat slick on my palms, despite the cold that clung to the night air. I looked ahead, and the road seemed to stretch endlessly, twisting under an ink-black sky that felt closer than the cab roof. I knew the highway was playing with me, bending reality, but I had no choice but to keep moving forward. Somewhere out there, I believed, was the way out of this nightmare, or at least a sliver of hope. The dashboard clock flickered and jumped, the numbers warping like the road itself. 2:13. Again, that cursed time. I'd come to hate it. I checked the mirrors one more time, half expecting to see Kyle or that ghostly woman behind me, but the fog swallowed everything. Just shadows. Then, A light flickered on the horizon, dim, distant, like a dying candle. I told myself it was just another trick of the hollow mile, but I aimed the rig toward it anyway. Maybe it was a sign, a rest stop, a real place. As I rolled closer, the outlines of old gas pumps and a rusted sign came into view. The sign read, Miller's Crossroad, but the letters were peeling and cracked, like no one had tended to this place in decades. The air smelled different here, not the decay and rot of the highway, but something colder, ancient, and watchful. I parked the truck, stepping out into the chill. The fog seemed thinner here, but the silence was louder, heavier. I was alone, but the feeling of eyes watching never left. That's when I heard footsteps, soft, dragging, coming from the dark behind the pumps. I spun around, heart racing, but saw nothing, just the endless fog. The hollow mile wasn't just a road. It was a trap. And every time I thought I'd reach safety, it pulled me deeper into its grasp. I stood frozen for a moment, the cold seeping through my jacket as the footsteps faded into silence. The night around Miller's Crossroad felt wrong, like the air itself was holding a secret, waiting for me to make the next move. I forced myself to walk toward the old gas station, the boards creaking beneath my boots, the windows cracked and dark. Inside, dust and shadows tangled together like they'd been waiting for years to trap someone foolish enough to step in. The radio in the truck crackled suddenly, breaking the silence with a hiss that sent a chill down my spine. The voices were back, whispering, pleading, warning me to turn back. But I wasn't about to give up. I needed answers. I needed to find Kyle. Behind the counter, I spotted an old ledger, pages yellowed and brittle. As I flipped through it, names appeared, dates stretching back decades, drivers who never made it past this cursed crossroads. Their stories were all the same. Disappearances, madness, the hollow mile's grip pulling them under. Suddenly, a cold breeze brushed past me, carrying a voice so soft it was almost a breath. Help us. I looked up to see a flicker of movement in the shadows, a figure, half-glimpsed, with eyes full of sorrow. It was Kyle. I called out to him, but the figure vanished before my words could reach him. The ledger slipped from my hands, pages fluttering like dying wings. I knew then that the hollow mile wasn't just haunted. It was alive, feeding on those who traveled its roads, trapping them in its endless night. Climbing back into the truck, I realized this journey was far from over. The highway's grip was tightening, and every mile I drove pulled me deeper into its dark heart.